Good morning, comrades. It is Friday, fun day. We are going to have some fun today. I promise. We kind of kept the stories a little bit to the minimum, at least the heavy ones, and we jumped on a couple of fun ones in particular. But yeah, what's going on, everybody? Jeff in here today. Scott might be joining us. He said that he might. He wanted to talk about the Jack Stevens thing, which, that's something else. But I wanted to talk a little bit about some other things. But there's some good news, so I'll just hold this one off until later. But there is some good news, some good stuff happening that I wanted to talk about, specifically in New Orleans. One of our schools in Orleans Parish, Brick Lodge Academy, is starting a union, and I can just kind of jump us right in with that, and kind of catch us up with the specifics of that. So for those of y'all who don't know, New Orleans, specifically after Hurricane Katrina, but like right before before that, the school system in New Orleans has been like quite embattled. It's been sort of like always viewed as something that could be, essentially it was ripe for attack and reform from these people who essentially have, the people that want to like privatize and destroy public schools. We talked a lot about this on this program. And part of what happened after Hurricane Katrina was that the reformers, quote unquote, got their opportunity to do that. And what they did is essentially they made the entire system charter schools, and they destroyed. They didn't destroy, but they definitely like beat back the Union of the United Teachers New Orleans, which was very, very powerful in New Orleans prior to Hurricane Katrina, and it was left a complete and utter shell of itself, unfortunately, after, because of these targeted attacks and these privatization drives. And over the years since Hurricane Katrina, the way that these schools have had to organize has been sort of like either school by school or network by network. What's up, Cyber Demon 531? How are you today? And so one of the things that, so I think currently, or at least prior to this instance here, only 3 schools in Orleans Parish had a union, and now we have one that's declared as a 4th. So I just want to go ahead and read through this. Drinking some I've got my Covfefe right here. Have my I do what I want mug. The cat is flipping you off. That's some tasty Covfefe. So yeah, Brick Lodge Academy board takes first look at educators union drive. So I've actually, been getting some updates on this from friends of mine who are involved in this effort. It's really good and cool. So let's get in. Brick Lodge Academy's governing board on Wednesday discussed the latest New Orleans Charter School union drive from Brick Lodge Academy Educators United, BEU, in private for over an hour with its attorneys in its first public meeting since receiving the union petition. Board president of, so let me explain a little bit here too. The way that charter schools are run they're governed in a sort of like broad sense by elected school board over all of Orleans Parish, but at the sort of like either school or like network of school level, which is usually run by like a nonprofit and a management organization, which can be run for profit, which is how the money gets juiced out of this whole thing. They're appointed boards. They're not publicly elected. They're appointed by whoever has the charter for that school, and they're the people that decide whether or not to approve this union. So that's who we're talking about here. Board President Yvette Jones said that the board must continue to do its due diligence over the matter before taking a vote on whether to recognize the union. So they're stalling. On February 24th, Brick Lodge Academy Educators United delivered a letter to school management and the charter's nonprofit board of directors. Wednesday night was the first time it was publicly addressed. The New Orleans Teachers Union, which once represented teachers across the school district, was all but destroyed after Hurricane Katrina, as I said a moment ago. The Orleans Parish School Board laid off 7,600 public school employees in the months after the storm as it faced a funding shortage. Teachers unions have made small. So as I was saying earlier, that's how they destroyed the schools in Orleans Parish, because they were like, they turned out their pockets. They're saying, hey, we don't have any money. We don't have any money. Sorry, we got to lay off almost 8,000 educators and school workers. Teachers unions have made a small comeback in the city over the last 8 years, but the Bricolage educators becoming the sixth school to attempt a union drive. There was one that was really sort of remarkable. There's this school called Lusher that was on a union drive. It's sort of like a one of these kind of like high prestige uptown New Orleans schools. Excuse me. That like Drew Brees has the field named after him. It's ridiculous because he donated to the school and all this other stuff. But there was like a union drive there, and there was documented cases of union busting happening. Very, very like. I mean, I've had friends that were kind of involved in that campaign as well, and the stories that they tell would sort of like make your hair stand on end. Teachers unions have made prior to the closed session on the union, Bricolage CEO Trove Profice, that's a name, gave a report on staffing saying that 90% of school staff wanted to return next school year. The school would be offering multi-year employment contracts, he said. So I think that is almost a result of the fact that the staff is even putting this union together. You're already getting concessions from the boss. Look at what we're going to give you, and we're not going to address the union question. But shut up, go away. You're getting some of what you want, but it's not the union that did that. We're giving that to you because we're so nice and sweet as your overlords. I'm proud to share publicly all returning team members. All returning team members. Like a hair in my mouth or something. Ugh. I'm proud to share publicly all returning team members can expect to receive a 3-year work agreement, Profice said. It's different than the typical 1-year agreement in the past. However, she added that those agreements would depend on performance and funding. Oh, performance, eh? It's like school performance scores, teacher evaluation, making sure that the educators are doing teaching what the charter wants you to do. You're taking away autonomy of teachers. However, she added that those agreements would depend on performance and funding. More than 110 people tuned in to Wednesday's virtual meeting, including more than a dozen self-identified BAE members and more than 24 self-identified friends of BAE. Several Louisiana Association of Public Charter School staff and Bricolage founder Josh Denson were present as well. The Louisiana Association of Public Charter Schools, bad, very, 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 very bad. They're the people that want to turn public schools into charter schools. No good, not good, folks. Denson also had a child attending the school. Honestly, the petition came as a surprise to the board and leadership. Since that time, we've been trying to understand what it means for the school as a whole and what it means to our students and families. Oh yes, we don't want the big bad union to take anything away from our students and our families in this beautiful community that we've constructed around here. Jones said as she began to address the petition, as the board, we have to do our due diligence with this legal matter. And really, this is the first time we've been able to come together to discuss. So again, stall. We need to think about this. You can just recognize the union right now, but no. We need to do our due diligence. I have seen school boards make decisions with zero information. Like I've heard them ask questions, and this is in public school board situations, not even private, or these nonprofit boards or whatever the hell. They'll ask questions that have absolutely nothing to do with content of like one of the things they're going to spend tons of money on, and they'll vote for it. But union. Well, let's slow down. Let's pump on the brakes here, Chief. Jones praised the school's teachers, but we're also stewards for public assets that are entrusted to us as the governing body of a charter school. We must move deliberately and carefully when confronted with a complex issue like this. They're totally obscuring the thing. The charter board then allowed several minutes of comments from staff members in favor of the union petition and those opposed. No comments from the general public were taken on the matter. Since the board was not taking a vote, public comment was not legally required. So, shut up, public. You're not a part of this yet. Teacher Emily Alverson was the first to speak in favor of the petition, noting how when she moved to New York to work in her work on her master's degree, she worked at a unionized school and thought it was a better working environment. Before moving, she worked at bricolage. She returned to the school after finishing her master's. Quote, I would come in at 7:30 and stay until 6:30, and then I'd come on Sundays too, Alverson said, recalling her first year at bricolage in 2014 prior to moving to New York. I thought that was how it was supposed to work. Teachers were just supposed to work themselves to death, and that ain't no joke. Like, seriously, the expectation is essentially you don't have a life. You're just going to be working on lesson planning and planning everything. Good morning, Antifa, until you just drop and fall asleep essentially in your chair, and then when you wake up, you start immediately. And that's not just at charter schools, by the way. That's the expectation kind of more broadly. I left and moved to New York to get my master's, and I had to be part of union. I got to be a part of union schools, and what I saw was teachers who did not work themselves to death. They worked in an environment where they expected their time and expertise to be respected. Working in union schools taught me to expect to have my time and my expertise to be respected. Very, very good comment. Like this teacher nailed it. Emily Alverson, nice job. There's more. There are people in this building right now without lunch breaks. Special education teachers fundamentally unable to do their jobs because they're teaching all day, she said. Pay disparities seen across race and gender lines, and huge disparities between associate teachers' pay and the work they are asked to do. I love working here, but there are still a lot of problems. Yes, capitalism is accumulation by dispossession. Absolutely. Good morning, DS. Teacher Brittany Schofield echoed her comments. It isn't complicated. There's no gotcha. The union is not a third party. The union is workers coming together, asking for regular good faith meetings in collaboration with leadership, Schofield said. Our leaders are always willing to hear us out when there's an innate power imbalance in our current structure. The only way to empower the voices of teachers and support staff is through collective bargaining. She said, if I were a board member, I would want to be a part of this movement. There's another one. Brandy Rose Michelle, who works as an interventionist in bricolage, spoke against unionization. Uh-oh. Yeah. Good morning, G Wolf. Yeah, teachers should make more than Congress people. They provide a lot more for our society. That's for goddamn sure. Here's somebody. So here's a teacher speaking against. Boo. I am not here to negate any of the statements my colleagues just made, she said. However, when this conversation really started to take off, there were a number of employees who were left out of the conversation intentionally, it seems. That's a pretty weak argument. And you didn't want to go talk to somebody about it? I mean, unions kind of can't really be a secret if you're trying to get everybody on board. So this person seems to just be bitter. She said some employees who signed the union petition were misled. She said some of the same employees signed the petition she started, advocating for an independent, union-free bricolage. So this person's behaving as a union buster. I'm here to say, I don't want to talk about her anymore. Unions in the charter era. Bricolage is the sixth school to attempt to unionize in New Orleans since Hurricane Katrina. In 2013, Morris Jeff Community Schools governing body voluntarily recognized the school's first union. So that means you don't need a vote. That means the board just says, you have a union, you want a union, you got a union. What it sounds like here, so the choice that the board at bricolage has to do is they can either voluntarily recognize, or they can force a union vote based off of the they would just poll the workers, poll the workers. They would kind of create all the rules through. I don't think it would be through NLRB. I'd have to look and see what the specifics would be, because public employees don't fall under NLRB. Anyway, they have renewed collective bargaining agreements to date. So Morris Jeff is like the gold standard of like a unionization in the schools. The other one is Benjamin Franklin, which is kind of one of those elite schools where you have to test into. Later union drives didn't go so smoothly. Lusher Charter Schools Board voted narrowly against recognizing the union, while International High Schools Board did not consider the item. They didn't even bring it up. That sent the unions to the national. Oh, they do go NLRB. That's interesting. I didn't think that applied. Union law, I mean, labor law is very, very complicated. That sent the unions to a National Labor Relations Board, an independent federal agency that protects the rights of private sector employees. There, Lusher officials argued the school wasn't subjected to federal oversight of the board, the National Labor Relations Board. In February 2017, the NLRB ruled that the two charter schools were subject to federal law on unionization. So this is sort of like an interesting thing. So because these charter schools run like private organizations, they're not always considered to be like private employees. So they might fall under NLRB because of that. It's sort of like a really seemingly not important distinction, but legally it really is, because if you fall under the National Labor Relations Act, which is the legislation from the New Deal era that that created the National Labor Relations Board, for example, it that means that essentially they can be compelled to recognize, or at least follow private employees private employers need to follow more rules and more laws than public employers, or a different set of laws, and you have different rights as a private employee, employer, or a private worker. Sorry, I'm a little stumbling all over myself. This is very, very complicated. Both charter boards challenged rulings by the regional labor board director that they are subject to the labor board's jurisdiction. They argued they're exempt because they are governmental entities. Eventually, elections were held at each school. At International High School, teachers and aides voted in favor of union representation. At Lusher, teachers voted it down, with all the union busting, like I mentioned earlier. But a smaller group of employees, mostly made up of teachers, aides, voted for union representation. So they apparently, the paras got a union and the teachers didn't. Having a union doesn't guarantee the board will work with one to finalize a union contract. At the IHS, that process has dragged on without a contract for years. In 2017, teachers at Mary D. Coghill Charter School voted to unionize, but the charter group lost its charter at the end of the 2018-2019 school year, and NOLA Public Schools District took over. It is now the only traditional district-run school in the district. So that's interesting. They closed the one school that had, or they closed one of the 5 schools in New Orleans that had a union. They closed it, and then they made it a public school. So that's fairly interesting. So there's almost like a path to to make these schools public again. If we can get unions into them, we can essentially bring them back under the city's jurisdiction. So obviously solidarity with the Bricolage Educators United, BEU, friends and comrades in the struggle. I want to read their letter that they sent. This is to the CEO, because schools have CEOs now. I want to read this just really quickly. Dear CEO Trove Profice, I think it's Trove. I'm really probably butchering their name. I don't care. And Bricolage Academy Board of Directors. Attached, you will find our petition to form a union with the United Teachers of New Orleans. Over 80% of eligible Bricolage staff have signed on asking that you recognize our union. Together, we are Bricolage Academy Educators United. Additionally, You will also find a brochure about why we have built our union here. Bricolage Academy Educators United is dedicated to advancing educational equality by placing anti-racism at the forefront of our student-centered work. BAE United values the expertise of those working directly with students in order to integrate design thinking into everything we do. As bricolage grows, formal systems of collaboration among teachers, students, families, and administration will strengthen our community in service to our goal, to be a school where everyone gets what they need to become innovators who change the world. We believe that bricolage will benefit from collaboration between management and staff through a formal process of collective bargaining, contract. Throughout the last year, we have collectively faced down unpredictable challenges and unprecedented pandemic. It is clear now more than ever that we are stronger together. We are requesting the Bricolage Academy Board of Directors to have a special board meeting in the next week to discuss recognizing our union. We hope this meeting will be an opportunity for you to hear directly from bricolage educators about how this will strengthen our school. We will be reaching out soon to discuss how we can move forward together. Very good letter. Excellent stuff. Great stuff here. Yeah, you're right, Antifa. Privatization is rentier extraction. We must vaccinate ourselves against privatization. 100%, like 100% agree. So this is like a huge development. Like it's like great news. It's taken us a couple days. This happened probably about 2 days ago. This board meeting, but I really wanted to cover it here because it is like really awesome news. I have more union news coming up, but I just want to kind of check in on everybody. How are we doing in chat today? I saw we have Andrea, we have Antifa, we have Top Damage Wizard, we have G Wolf, we have DS. Yeah, got a nice little crew in here. How's everybody doing today? I'm running out of coffee. I might need to get some coffee. Delicious. So, another union. I'm like overloading. If y'all want me to like cut these kind of stories out, let me know. But I think this is like important stuff. What game are you playing? You playing Doom again? She was playing Doom like for several hours last night, huh? You played one of the what? I don't know Doom. I didn't play Doom very much, but she was on there. Ignoring show prep. I mean, if you want to take any of these stories, feel free. I can send you the links. Path of Exile. There you go. I guess you're a doomer. Aren't we all? Union bargaining at a podcasting giant. Gimlet Media, part of the Spotify empire, has been negotiating a contract with workers for almost 2 years. This is by Sarah Jaffe, who has been on this program. She actually has a brand new book out. Hold on. That I actually want to plug because she is good and cool. It's called Work Won't Love You Back: How Devotion to Our Jobs Keeps Us Exploited, Exhausted, and Alone. I've gotten through the introduction of this. Very, very good stuff. I'm actually out to Sarah. She's agreed to come on the show to talk about this book. She's a fantastic labor reporter, and she is also one of the hosts of a show called Belabored, which covers labor news internationally, really. So anyway, I wanted to kind of go through a little bit of this. The artisan and socialist William Morris famously identified 3 hopes that would make work worth doing: hope of rest, hope of product, and hope of pleasure in the work itself. The last one and the first one are fairly self-explanatory, but the middle one is a question that still remains central to many of today's creative workers. Will they, in fact, have any control over the thing they create? As workers at Gimlet Media, a narrative podcast production company based in Brooklyn and owned by the streaming media giant Spotify, labored over the last 2 years to unionize and then bargain a first contract, that question has been central to their struggles. This week, they were in a marathon bargaining sessions, trying to get to a deal by a Thursday deadline that will importantly include frameworks for the workers to own some of the rights to the derivative works made from the podcast they create. So essentially, they work for Gimlet Media. They're this part of the Spotify empire. They're creating all of this content, and essentially, what they're trying to do is get it so that the content, at least part of that content, works, like they get to own it. So that's really good and important, and it's good that this fight is happening. We're pushing hard as we can. We're pushing as hard as we possibly can to try and get a deal," said Meg Driscoll, a producer at Gimlet and member of the bargaining team. "The derivative works question," she said, "is the biggest issue that they remain stuck on. Quote, it's the idea that people might get to not own their work, but have a say in something, have a say in when something is made from their work or get some of the earnings from that." So they want to get a little, because when you have these, intellectual property and all this other stuff, the boss would be the one that gets the profit off of the work that the workers do. Workers want more of that. Makes perfect sense. Podcasting has become big business. A Business Insider report last month estimated that weekly podcast listenership has more than doubled since 2016. A lot of people listen to a lot of podcasts. Everybody's got a podcast, don't they, folks? And that podcasts would be $1 billion industry by 2021. Gimlet is known for shows like Startup, Conviction, Uncivil, Mogul, and Reply All. I've never heard of any of these podcasts, by the way. And many of its workers have radio or television backgrounds. Driscoll left TV to work for Gimlet. Another worker the prospect spoke with, who preferred not to be named, came from public radio and had been a member of the Screen Actors Guild / American Federation of Television Radio Artists, SAG-AFTRA. Yes, you have a podcast and you own your podcast, and so do I, or at least I own mine collectively with the team. You should listen to Andrea's podcast. It's called Above It All. It actually comes on right after this program. I'm going to actually drop the link in chat after I'm done here. Your thoughts have been copyrighted by Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and Disney Studios. Yes, we know you're an individual capitalist, Andrea. We know. The union drive began before Spotify purchased Gimlet in part of an acquisitions binge that also included podcasting companies Parcast and The Ringer. Both, I've heard of The Ringer, both of which have been unionized. Gimlet's union ultimately held off going public until after the Spotify deal went through. Then they announced their move to join the Writers Guild of America in early 2019. Management voluntarily recognized the union that April. Good. And since then, the 60-member bargaining team has been bargaining. That is a long time to be bargaining. Early 2019, it's 2021. How do you not have a contract? Gimlet management did not respond to a request for comment. The Gimlet workers are inspired to unionize by other media companies, but as attention grows to union drives now within the broadly defined tech industry, from the Alphabet union at Google to the union vote going on in Amazon's Bessemer, Alabama warehouse, it's worth noting that they are some of the first to negotiate with major tech platform and Spotify. And fittingly, their organizing has drawn from both worlds, including this December, a work stoppage live streamed on the platform Twitch. I didn't even know about this. I don't have any money. Any takers? Anybody with deep pockets want to buy Above It All? A very, very hot commodity. It's going to be going to the moon. It is. I mean, it's basically the next Bitcoin. The 2-hour action. So essentially, actually, I do want to know about this, and then we can sort of like move on The 2-hour action, the unnamed worker noted, not only allowed us to unite with listeners and let them know what we're doing, but also include our colleagues at The Ringer and Parcast. It was in part a way to hold the job action safely and remotely during the pandemic, but in part a recognition of the reality of digital media. Gimlet workers and their audience are often extremely online, and done well, a work stoppage can be its own kind of compelling digital content. Yeah, I think that if anybody like knew how to do an action digitally, like during the pandemic, right now, that could get public attention, it's the people that do this shit for a living. You know, that is who would that's who would be able to do this. So gotta love it, folks. Gotta love it. Gotta love the unions. Gotta love it all showing up. It's gone IPO. Wow, there's action happening in the chat. We have above it all. Yeah, make sure that you can like trade that thing publicly. That's where you can get the most money, Andrea, on above it all. So that's good stuff. Good news. Good stuff for a Good Friday. You know what makes me angry? You know what really kind of ticks me off? Half of these, because I'm looking at I'm trying to pull up an article. And since when did Business Insider go all like subscription? Because I'm trying to pull up an article about Lauren Boebert, and it's paywalled. Oh, like media in America is a complete and utter disaster. I'm gonna go get some more coffee. Y'all don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. What did I say? I said a word? I didn't realize it. Link decided to come back with me. She is a good kitty. Look at her. Fast food. Why are we bringing up fast food in chat? Did something that did? Do I have something fast foody behind me? Am I getting canceled for fast food? Fries with no salt make you angry? I've tried making my own fries actually. Like frying them. I have a big cast iron pot, and been trying to cut them and fry them a little bit. I did a lot more at the beginning of the pandemic. I asked what makes me angry. What makes you angry? Did I? Oh. Because of the Business Insider thing. I'm kind of out of it today, so excuse me. I got up at like 4 in the morning. I couldn't get back to sleep, so I'm a little bit like bleary eyed. No, Business Insider having a paywall makes me angry. But fast food doesn't really make me angry. Not really. Yeah, I need the covfefe. I definitely need the covfefe. All right. Since I put Link down, she's been creating wanton destruction throughout the house. By the way, what do y'all think of my studio? It's basically my little side room. I share it with the cats, like all of their litter boxes in here. I have a picture of my dog Petey, who is on the cover of Time magazine. I also have Bernie. Bernie shared with us. We have my buddy, it's Yurik. He hangs out. Yes, I'm in the litter box room. I get treated. I am basically one of the cats now. That's just how it works. I'm one of the cats. So I wanted to find that Bobert ad. Where is it? Oh my god. Lauren Boebert's been on fire lately. She's incredible. She had, where did the ding dong have? Is it? No. All right. No. Talk about show prep. More like no prep. Bye, Andrea. Just don't go full cat man. No promises, you wolf. No promises. Being inoculated into one of the cats is quite the honor. Inculcated into the cats is quite an honor. I mean, it's their honor, not mine. They're lucky that I'm here and give them the time of day. Here we are. Here she is arguing against background checks. Now,
there was an altercation.
So Lauren Boebert is one of the kind of like new, kind of like on the brand new sort of like psycho mom fringe of the Republican Party right now. She is, no, she's not the QAnon one. She and Marjorie Taylor Greene are like the two that have kind of like come in and taken over like the kind of like wild wing of the Republican Party. She is suspected to have given sort of tours. Actually, this is documented. She's given tours to some of the people who invaded the Capitol on the January 6th, and also she also was the owner of a place called Shooter's Grill in Colorado, which is where she's from. And here she is talking about something that didn't happen.
There was an altercation outside of my restaurant where a man was physically beat to death. There were no weapons involved. He was beat to death by another man's hands. I have a lot of young girls who work in my restaurant, and we needed an equalizer. There was an altercation outside of my restaurant.
She says that the person was beat to death. But so here's the story from the Chicago Sun of the event that happened. She rose from an unknown to a candidate for Congress as someone in Donald Trump's orbit. But let's see where the all right. There was a violent altercation so this is what she was saying about her story. So the origin story that she's talking about isn't really true. Boebert may not have risen to political prominence without Shooter's Grill, but there's some truth bending in how Shooter's became an armed food emporium. In a story Boebert has made an integral part of her personal lore in speeches and interviews, she has often repeated that she decided to arm herself and her waitresses because she feared for everyone's safety after a man was murdered, quotes, in an alley behind her new restaurant. Here's a quote of her. There was a violent altercation in our back alley where a man was physically beaten to death, and it immediately prompted the question, how will I defend my people? So I began to carry that day. So that's what she says happened. She says that this is the story of Shooter's Grill, that somebody was beaten to death essentially in like right outside of a restaurant. The Rifle Police Department has no record of such a murder. A man did die on the sidewalk down the street from Shooters in the early morning of August 22nd, 2013. Initially, it was investigated as a possible homicide, but an autopsy determined the man died from a drug overdose. So basically, somebody died of a drug overdose, and she's said, hey, what if she did some fanfic, I guess, in her head, some fanfic of reality, and decided, hey, if this guy died outside of our restaurant, what if we just said he was beaten to death, and we just rebranded our entire operation to be gun carrying, gun toting, restaurant where we can shoot stuff. The media and the Second Amendment advocates would take Boebert's story at face value. Boebert and her waitresses were in the news around the world for taking orders for biscuits and gravy and ballistic chicken with loaded pistols to protect themselves from lawlessness on the streets. Boebert enjoyed a steady stream of attention. So basically, she used this as a gimmick to make her famous and to get her basically to sell ballistic chicken and whatever trash food they have at Shooter's Grill. And I mean, it got her to become a member of Congress, but it's also a complete and utter fairy tale and a lie. There was something else that, and I saw this one was here too. She released this kind of wild ad. And it's important to keep in mind that Lauren Boebert, oh, Phoebe's here.
There's no cat food.
Okay.
They're starting to circle.
I'll feed them.
Sharks in the water.
I'll feed them after I'm done. I got about 20 minutes. Yeah. My cats are hungry. They're about to start taking me out. So anyway, here's an ad. And it's important to remember here that Lauren Boebert was one of the people that was giving tours to some of the people that invaded the Capitol on January 6th.
I'm Lauren Boebert, a mom, a small business owner, a defender of freedom. Here's what I know.
I noticed something also. This happened with Kim Klacik, who was a right-wing. She was a black woman, actually, who ran for the House in Baltimore, I think it was. I've noticed that Republicans, and specifically Republican women, love to have this sort of like dressed up look and a lot of walking action in their ads. Like it's almost like a West Wing thing. Like how there was a lot of walking and talking in that show. The Republicans just basically picked up that optic, and now they're just doing it with a lot of their ads, and it's specifically with a lot of their female candidates. That's just an observation.
You protect what you love. President Trump built a big, beautiful wall because he loves America, and he wanted to see.
A big, beautiful wall, folks.
Secure our country and protect us from drugs, illegal aliens pouring into our communities, and sex traffickers. Democrats, they fought him every step of the way. And now, welcome to Fort Pelosi, where Democrats decry walls from within their own heavily guarded razor wire wall. Democrats don't want to protect you because they don't care about you, but they'll spare no expense protecting themselves.
Now, this is kind of critical. Like, it's important, and I don't necessarily think there needs to be a wall around the Capitol, to be clear. But contextually speaking, especially considering that Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene and several other Republican representatives were giving tours of the Capitol, and it was actually sort of invaded by this mob that Donald Trump incited on January 6th. That you were a part of. Yes, this is a fascist agitprop, but it's 100%. However, the reason the fence is there is because of people like her.
Protecting themselves. We will not build a wall.
No, there will not be another.
Oh, I love that they decide to just like throw Hillary in there because there's just an automatically visceral reaction from right-wing Republicans against her. And like, I don't like Hillary Clinton as a candidate. I didn't like her just sort of like generally. I don't like whine and complain about the Clinton crime family quite so much. But I mean, again, the Clintons are a disaster. But like just throwing in like one little clip of Hillary that's not like Pokemon Go to the polls is very interesting.
Not be another foot of wall constructed in my administration.
I'm not for a wall. I'm not for a wall.
It's time to cut the crap and remember, this is the people's house. Madam Speaker, tear down this wall.
And she just decided to go. By the way, the tear down this wall is just 100% evocative of the 1990, like 1989 taking down of the Berlin Wall, which is like literally Cold War language. Literally, it's Cold War language. Yeah. Plus another Republican that can't tell the difference between a wall and a fence. Yeah.
Tear down this wall.
You get her signature, which is a pretty good signature, honestly. It's not bad. So that's what Lauren Boebert is up to. Just ridiculous stuff. There's my timeline. You're welcome. That's who I follow on Twitter. So much lexical presuppositional trigger semantics from the use of right wing. So that's actually interesting that you bring that up. Like they like right wing and like right wing agitprop in the US is so good at sort of like having a like baking in assumptions of like what you like that are going to sort of like trigger like things in people's minds that they think about, but and they don't even have to say it. Like the idea of simply saying, tear down this wall. It's extremely sort of like red scary, like Cold War type language, just because that is what Reagan, because it's a shortcut to Reagan, who was like one of the greatest of the great Cold Warriors at the end, and he gets credit for like destroying the Soviet Union, which was big scary communism. So I think that's like really, really interesting. I don't know what it is. I just sort of like obsess over Republican ads. I think that they're genuinely fascinating, and like it's really, really effective propaganda. I mean, no lie, it really, really is effective propaganda. It works on people because people are scared, and this makes them scared. And like people like her and Marjorie Taylor Greene do scare the crap out of me. They really do. I don't think we're going to get to Jack Stevens today, just because it's, I know Scott wanted to cover that. Scott has been like the guy on this one. It's temporal spatial axiological proximization. What does that mean? Can you explain a little bit what that means, Antifa? I'm not exactly sure what that's too technical of language for me. Can you say it in dumb terms for dummies like me? Axiological proximization, just sort of like making it sound close to certain things, like axioms. Is that what you mean? I don't know. By the way, we do have a Discord. Oh, we have to break down the hierarchy. It's dog whistling. Yeah, dog whistling. Okay, that makes sense. That's the okay. Perfect. Dog whistling. That's the language I understand. Sorry. I'm showing how dumb I am right now on the air. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. We do have a Discord. If anybody ever does want to share stories, it's not super set up yet. It's been up for a while. We've been using it for, testing out recording and stuff like that. I'm gonna go ahead and send the invite. And we have a channel in there called show polls. Basically post all your story ideas if you want to share any, and I can sort of throw them up. Big words are hard all the time for me. I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. I know Biden had a speech yesterday. I don't really want to talk about that. I'm just excited that the stimulus checks are coming. I guess that's what we can finally hit on. Yeah, we can talk a little bit about Biden. All right. I mean, is there anything beyond just the checks are coming? All right. So a third round of stimulus checks have finally been approved. It took so long to get this COVID relief bill through. It didn't have the $15 minimum wage, but it didn't have half the good things that the Democrats promised. And that was sort of the last chance that we had to get things like this, because unless they nuke the filibuster. So the largest check is going to be coming home yet, $1,400 per person, $28 per couple. The checks are part of a $1.9 trillion economic stimulus plan. Nobody cares how much is in the stimulus plan. President Joe Biden has approved a massive coronavirus relief package that includes a third round of direct cash payments to households referred to as a stimulus check. This is kind of just ridiculous from the perspective of, they keep trying to sell this as the largest stimulus check, but like there were two other checks that the Republicans sent us, and the Democrats want to kind of like get like as little over that line as possible, but still get credit for it. I don't know. Is the third check coming? Yes. As early as this weekend. Hell yeah. Get that in my bank account. Absolutely. According to the White House, direct cash payments are part of a $1.9 trillion economic package called the American Rescue Plan that Biden signed on Thursday. I thought he was going to wait till today. Who qualifies for the third stimulus check? Anyone with a Social Security number who meets the income requirements that were lower, by the way, than the other checks. If you make less than $75,000 a year, you're going to get one. If you make more than that, there's sort of like a way that they're going to gradually make it smaller. Where's my check? That's what everybody wants to know. But yeah. There's also things in there for like tax credits. Can your stimulus check be garnished for unpaid debts? It's possible. Oh, good. I have a lot of student loan debt. Is that going to be something that is a part of this? Because Congress used a process called budget reconciliation to pass a stimulus bill, which only allows certain types of legislation to pass through Congress, private collectors will have the right to garnish stimulus check money that lands in your bank account to cover unpaid debts. Great. This is different from the previous $600 stimulus check, which had protections against garnishment. The new checks cannot be garnished for IRS debt or other government debt, such as child support. Great. This week, several consumer and banking trade groups signed a letter to Congress pushing for legislation in the form of a separate bill to protect the new stimulus checks from garnishment. Yeah, we need to make sure that people because the people who are going to get their funds garnished are the ones that need it the most. You didn't get the $1,200 check? Gee, Wolf, you didn't get $1,200? What the hell? I don't know who you would even talk to get that figured out. That sucks. I know Emma on Majority Report said the same thing yesterday. Did you like move and maybe they mailed it to like a previous address or anything like that? They got taken away because of child. That's ridiculous. Ugh. Yeah. So anyway, it should have been $2,000, of course, and also should have been $2,000. There should have been a $15 minimum wage, but other than that, the bill was mostly good. There should be protections against garnishment. There's not. Antifa, people have been poisoned with propaganda that has changed their axiology, values of ethics and aesthetics. Yep, dog whistling, and you're not dumb at all. I'm a nerd. That's all. Yeah, that's okay. Nerds are cool. I like nerds. And I didn't know what it was either until propaganda scared the hell out of you too. Yeah. Yeah. It is scary. I mean, like, seriously, thinking about like I know one of the things, so I've done a couple of these kinds of shows with DSA New Orleans. We did some coverage of elections in Georgia, like live coverage, just to do it and to get some attention, some eyeballs and whatever. And one of the things we started looking at were just like a bunch of Republican ads, and specifically the guy in Georgia whose name escapes me at the moment, who's the governor now, the guy who who lost to Stacey Abrams, but he still won, like in a literally actually stole election. Like, you got just 600, so your fingers are crossed. And he was doing, like, his ads were incredible. Let me see if I can find a couple just to kind of bring us home. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp ads. Yeah, Brian Kemp, that's his name. Here he is. This is great. This is my favorite one, actually. This is the date your daughter one.
I'm Brian Kemp. This is Jake, young man interested in one of my daughters.
Yes, sir.
Jake asked why I was running for governor. I said, 1,
Cap government spending.
2,
Take a chainsaw to regulations.
3,
Make Georgia #1 for small business.
and 2 things if you're going to date one of my daughters.
Respect.
And
A healthy appreciation for the Second Amendment, sir.
Look at all of the guns.
we're going to get along just fine.
Brian Kemp for governor.
Like, he's literally doing
This
date
is
your
the new
daughter
hoax.
like jokes for his ad campaign. It's incredible. Here's another one that's so conservative. This one's similar to the one I think it was Boebert that she was like shooting a target that said like government spending and they explode. I think this is something similar.
I'm Brian Kemp.
I think this
I'm
was
so
like a
conservative.
format that they just watched.
I blow up government spending. I own guns.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
No one's taken away.
I'll show it
My
again.
chains.
Hold on.
I'm Brian Kemp. I'm so
I'll show the Jake one first. My bad. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm
Brian
boomer.
Kemp. This is Jake, young man interested in one of my daughters.
Yes, sir.
Jake asked why I was running for governor. I said, 1,
Cap government spending.
2,
Take a chainsaw to regulations.
3,
Make Georgia #1 for small business.
and 2 things if you're going to date one of my daughters.
Respect.
And
A healthy appreciation for the Second Amendment, sir.
we're going to get along just fine.
Brian Kemp for governor.
It's incredible.
This
Like,
is
like
the new
these people are
hoax.
just really, like, I don't know, man. I know that like it's like a little like probably problematic to be watching these things and it's just that they're so effective.
Borrow
and they're so
a bank
pervasive,
for all of us.
and they
I'm
just,
Brian
it
Kemp. I'm
fascinates
so
the shit.
conservative. I blow up government spending. I own guns that no one's taken away. My chainsaw's ready to rip up some regulations.
Cut some regulations with a chainsaw.
I got a big truck just in case I need to round up criminal illegals and take them home
Horrible.
myself. Yeah, I just said that. I'm Brian Kemp. If you want a politically incorrect conservative, that's me.
Ugh.
And I
It's actually
understand
kind of
that
unbelievable
you don't like.
that like people can get away with this, but like it is a good room. I think the other thing about this, and the thing that I also like is always kind of good to keep in mind, and I'll close on this. Is that that guy's the governor of Georgia now? Like that guy who did that ad, whether or not he even believes it, he probably is just like some nerd who went to, some like, private school or whatever, and he's just kind of like stealing conservative valor. He's the governor just because, in part because he's framed himself in this way. And so there is a sort of persuasiveness and an effectiveness to that kind of an ad campaign. And it's like, it's important to not forget that. I guess, that'll be it for today. Thanks for tuning in all week. G Wolf, we had Andrea in here. We had, Antifa, we had DS, we had everybody, we had the whole crew. Like the show, please. It really is, it really helps us out. We really want to get this thing going. We want to get, some support. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/Good Morning Comrade, where you can support the show. I'll drop a link here. Yeah, Robert's in here too. And then after that, I am going to, if you pretend long enough, you become that thing. I don't know if that's true. I honestly don't know if that's true. If you pretend long enough, you become something. Mostly because, like, it kind of comes through in people like, what's his name? Oh, God. The one with the, like, one piece of hair. The one, like, the senator. Oh, God. I can't remember his name. He's one of the people who essentially like led the charge against or like against the election of Biden, like after it was already over and after the Senate and the Capitol had been invaded. I can't remember his name. Anyway, he like kind of like tries to talk the conservative game, but he is so fake, and he's such like an obviously like. He's such an obviously like Ivy League school like nerd that people can smell that on him immediately. Anyway, we're gonna go. Thanks so much, everybody, for watching. I just dropped the link to Andrea's show Above It All. We mentioned it earlier in the program. She does a fantastic show, and everyone should watch it. Most of the people in here usually do, but. I'm gonna be in the chat over there too. So everybody have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. Bye bye.